Welcome into Boxing Scene Today. Well, many times in 2025, we have to be thinking to ourselves, are we living in some kind of alternate universe? We know about Jake Paul and his fight with Gervonta Davis falling through after more domestic violence allegations against Gervonta Davis. But the rumor right now making the rounds is that it is Anthony Joshua in talks for a fight in December against Jake Paul. Right here, when we listed the names that were a possibility, that was the last one on our list. Why? He's a real boxer who can really fight, who can really do damage. But could Jake Paul be running out of options? Jimmy Smith in studio alongside the champ, Paulie Malignaggi, also coach Robert Garcia. Paulie, when we looked at the names, I just said it. The last one was Anthony Joshua. He will never fight Anthony Joshua. Too good, too strong, too big. Could it be a case where he just got cornered, needs an opponent quickly, and that's who's available?
Is it a fight if it's an exhibition? I don't know. Again,
against a guy that size?
You could
doesn't
still
matter.
Yeah, of course. I mean, AJ doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would make side deals anyway, even if it was an exhibition. He's a very serious guy. I've worked several of his fights, been in meetings with him,
right,
with networks, and he always comes off as a very serious guy who takes this who doesn't joke around when it comes about his fight business. So I can't see him going easy on anybody, no matter what the circumstances are. Personally, me, I can't. I know, with an exhibition, you technically can go easy, and then it wouldn't be illegal. With a sanctioned fight, it's different. I reiterate that I've always believed Jake's sanctioned fights are not staged like many people think they were. But if this is a sanctioned fight, bro, this is crazy. To tell you the truth, I don't even know if AJ will go easy even if it's an exhibition, to tell you the truth. Because again, I've been around
DNA.
In my experience being around AJ, he's a very serious guy. And I think he's just a guy who comes to hurt you when it comes to that being that person. Like he there's the side of AJ that is cool when you're in the room with him and talking to him. But when he's about his fight business, he's about his fight business, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so whether it's an exhibition or whether it's a fight, I can't see AJ going easy on anybody. I can't. I personally cannot see it at all.
Well, Coach Garcia, I got to ask you, Mexican-American fighters, they fight with a lot of pride. They fight with a lot of valor. The idea that I'm going to go in there and take it easy on a guy, it's going to reflect poorly on my reputation. Joshua has to have a similar kind of attitude. He's a heavyweight. He's a former champion, very hard hitter. If he went rounds with Jake Paul, it would damage his reputation as an elite heavyweight. To Paulie's point, could he afford to do that?
I agree with Paulie. Look, it's almost impossible for somebody like Anthony Joshua, who is so big and so strong, to even think he's going to take it easy. Because even if he tries to take it easy, he's so powerful, so strong that even those punches that are being easy are still going to hurt. Look, I don't see this happening. And if it does, I'll be really surprised. Maybe an exhibition like Paulie's saying, but and they would have to maybe stage something just to make it look a little bit better, because there's no chance at all that Anthony Joshua is going to work and try to make Jake Paul look good, because it's just unbelievable, to even think that somebody as big, as strong as Anthony Joshua, is going to work with Paul. And like I said earlier, any punches that Anthony Joshua tries not to be hard, they're still going to be hard. They're still going to be hard punches.
Yeah, but that physical ability, Paulie, I worked for the WWE. I've seen works. I've seen things that weren't real. I was trying to stage it, make it look good. A guy with Anthony Joshua's build, with his frame and his power, it would stand out immediately to even the uneducated viewer if you were trying to work with Jake Paul.
That's why I don't see it. I mean, he's big, he's strong. Okay, that's one thing. But I just, again, in my experience of being around AJ, his demeanor is he's a very serious guy. Like I don't think he'd be about this kind of circus act. I think he would go to hurt you. He's always been that kind of guy. Remember the Ngannou fight where everybody's like, "Oh,
yes.
is Joshua shot enough? Is his chin hurt enough? Where Ngannou's guy so powerful may be able to do something?" Man, Joshua ran through him like a hot knife through butter. Like he made him look like he didn't belong in the ring with him, which is the way you're supposed to do. But of course, it's an example of Joshua's demeanor. In there, it's not Mr. Nice Guy. It's not, I'm going to work with you. It's not, okay, you don't come from boxing, I come from boxing. Let's make it look good. Like Mayweather did with McGregor in a way. It's bro, you're not here to play games, and I'm gonna knock you out, you know. And also, being that big, the other guy can land a shot on accident and hurt you too. So that's another reason why a guy like AJ would never play around,
Play games, right?
Yeah, you know. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting conversation point, but for me personally, my viewpoint, whether it's a sanctioned bout or whether it's an exhibition, it's hard for me to see AJ working with anybody, even an exhibition style where you technically could be allowed to work. I just don't think AJ is about that life, in terms of, when I say that life, that playing around life, that I'm gonna stage it and let's work it together. I think AJ is about that life the other way around, where he's gonna come to hurt you and, dude, take no prisoners. That's always been his mentality every single time I've witnessed him in the ring and on a fight week.
Even Drago, Apollo Crew, that was an exhibition. Remember that? Look what Drago did to him.
Yeah.
Similar kind of thing, right? Now, my other question.
There's no Tony saying, it's supposed to be an exhibition. You hear me?
Exactly. What are you doing? But this idea, of course, that should he lose, Paulie, I mean, you talk about the Ngannou fight. Ngannou just got trucked in that fight and has never gotten back to a big boxing match, hasn't done anything. The idea that getting knocked out by a guy like Anthony Joshua, and remember, Jake Paul, big guy, he's not heavyweight boxing big, he's not Ngannou big, he's not Anthony Joshua big. What would a damaging knockout, the face down, you are really, really out kind of knockout, would that be the end of Jake Paul?
I mean, it's been the end of Ngannou boxing, but Ngannou also got paid so well in comparison to what he'd been being paid in the UFC days, that, you know, it's almost like, okay, I can live off this, you know?
Right.
So maybe that's also why Ngannou sort of just fell off afterwards. Maybe he just didn't care. You know, he's had a long combat sports career himself. With Jake, it's not been a long combat sports career, but he comes from a brand where image is everything, because he doesn't come from a boxing brand. He comes from an image brand, an influencer brand. So, you know, does your brand take a big hit, getting knocked out like this, to the point where you can't fight again, where people will, you know, you don't want to, because you don't want to become a meme. Jake comes from that world, you know?
Exactly.
In some ways, we all end up becoming memes as fighters, but Jake comes from the world where, you know, that meme world where you are have the upside on it. If you end up getting the downside on that, you know, you end up becoming like the rest of us. Now you're going to be held to the same standard as the rest of us, which is a high standard as a fighter. Jake is not held as to as high a standard as everybody else as a fighter, because we know he comes from an influencer world. But does your influence get taken from you if you get knocked out bad? That's something to also keep in mind, which is something shocking, something why I was so shocked as to why he chose this fight, if this rumor is true. I mean, Coppinger is the one who put it out there. Mike Coppinger typically is on the ball when it comes to being on the rumor mill, you know? So, yo, man, I mean, credit to Jake. It's a ballsier move that Gervonta Davis has taken in his whole life, in his whole combat sports career. But, I mean, dude, it's still... I don't know. I when I see it, I'll believe it. I really don't know. And I'll tell you what, it's not like we say, okay, has he been put back into a corner? I'll be honest with you. I called them. I was like, bro, I'm still in shape. I can be the replacement. Jake won't touch me in the ass with a handful of rice. And I'll, you know, even with my right hand still healing from my fight, you know, I could jab and check hook him and spin him around and whirl him around, especially I'm still sharp in my movement. The fight was just a month ago. They didn't go for me. They went for AJ, bro. So they're kind of serious about this too. But are you too serious? Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's crazy. Are you too serious to the point where it's like, whoa, you this may end the whole fiasco here, the whole Jake Paul in boxing thing, you know? I don't think you had to go this way, but if you go this way, I'm telling you right now, AJ does not play around, bro.
So when
Paulie, let me get this. I think he did make the call, and I do believe so, because he's an influencer. You know, you see guys that take body shots by professional boxers just to get numbers on social media. This guy's gonna make $30-50 million. I don't know. Why wouldn't he get knocked out by Anthony Joshua? How many times did you ever hear in the 90s, would you take a punch for $1 million from Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
A lot of people would do it.
Well,
a lot of people would do it.
That's a worldwide conversation, because we used to hear it too.
A lot of people would do it for $1 million. So this, you know, Paul's making 20, 30, I don't even know, $50 million. Get knocked out by Anthony Joshua, I would probably do the same.
Now, what's interesting, Boxing Scene says that Eddie Hearn is saying everyone has jumped the gun about the Anthony Joshua Jake Paul. He says there were talks. We are talking about it. I'm sorry, Anthony Joshua. Pardon me if I misspoke.
No. I'm saying Eddie has AJ. That's why he's.
Yeah, Eddie has AJ. Sorry,
he didn't misspeak. No, a little bit. I was a little bit on myself. He didn't misspeak. but it was. It's that Eddie has the rights to Joshua. That's why Eddie's quote comes in. Eddie's quote matters here.
What I'm saying though, what's interesting in the article, what it says is, oh, he already has a fight early 2025. I don't think he's going to want to do this. Paulie, this is pulling off the side of the road to take a leak and make $50 million and get right back on the highway. Am I wrong?
It's a sparring session on the way to the fight.
So
you're sparring a bunch of times a week anyway.
Against harder, bigger, tougher guys.
This is one of your sparring sessions in the training camp. That's all.
For $50 million.
Exactly. You know what? You get paid instead of you pay the sparring partners.
I'm serious, Paulie. Like the analogy's true. It is pulling over to the side of the road, take a leak, jump back. Oh, you're losing. I'm not losing 5 minutes. I'm doing this in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So the way that Eddie put it out there was other stuff. Early 2026. I went. So, I mean, wouldn't you stop and do this?
Again, I admit that's just clickbait by Eddie, just to try to make it look like, come on. But really, Eddie probably wants it too because it's easy money, right?
It's such easy money. I can't believe Eddie Hearn wouldn't allow it to happen.
Nah, I don't think Eddie. I think Eddie's just playing games. Eddie would allow it to happen. I think Eddie and AJ have a good relationship,
right?
So like
right.
he wouldn't get in the way. They would both get paid. And like you said, it's not even a detour on the way to the fight. It's strictly you could just keep it on stay on the same road to the fight. I mean, it wouldn't even
same training camp. I got to stop over and do this thing.
Take a leak. You said, it was a good analogy because you don't have to do anything differently. You just got to take a flight to where the fight is real quick, do this sparring session, and then go back into camp. I mean. And you get paid for it too. Pick up a check on the way. I mean, for AJ's side, it's brilliant. For Jake's side, I mean, you got to give the guy credit. He's got balls, but is there a difference between balls and insane? You know,
it's a fine line.
Yeah,
but Coach, that's why I want to ask you. And one of the most maddening quotes or expressions you hear about fighting is, "Oh, this guy's got nothing to lose." And I go, "It's a fight. You always have something to lose. You can lose your health. You can lose a lot of things. This idea that you have nothing to lose, especially against a puncher like Anthony Joshua, there's a lot for Jake Paul to lose in this fight, Coach."
No, it does. It is a very risky situation to be in. But like I said earlier, he's a social media guy. He's a guy about the numbers, and right now, obviously, about making a lot of money. And he'll take that dare. He'll take that risk because he does have heart. He does have balls to do it. He's a crazy guy. He's one of those guys that doesn't matter what risk he's going to take. He's going to take that chance. And knowing that he's going in there against Anthony Joshua, he'll go get paid, make the money, make it look as good as possible. Anthony will probably, measure him out for a few rounds and then knock him the heck out, But it'll do good numbers. They'll get a lot of money. Anthony Joshua, he's just like you guys said, it's just a little stop on the way to a big fight. Get this money out of the way and come back to get your real fight. That's how he's gonna do. I'm not gonna hesitate to turn on that channel and watch that fight. I would like to watch.
Who we kidding? We're gonna watch.
I want to watch it.
Unless it's the same night as a pro box night.
Yeah, unless we're working. But Paul, I got to ask you this: a couple questions. Does it raise your respect level of Jake Paul if this does actually happen? He's a legitimate fighter who's a legitimate threat. And number two, will this draw in more hardcore boxing fans just like, oh man, I want to see Jake Paul just get his head knocked into the third row? Does it change kind of the fan base? Because it'll be guys like us, I will tune in to watch this fight in a way that I wouldn't have necessarily tuned into another.
Here's the thing. If you're one of those people that is a Jake Paul hater, then I think you have to give Jake his respect after this, even if he gets knocked out, if he does this. I'm not a Jake Paul hater. I've met Jake plenty of times. I don't always agree with what he's doing with boxing as a fighter, but as a promoter, I think he's done brilliant things. And I think, his company has helped boxing and has helped boxers. And I know some of them myself. So I'm a fan of that aspect of it. And if him being a fighter pumps up his brand, as his promotional brand, which helps fighters, then I'm okay with that. That's what Oscar De La Hoya did with Golden Boy. If you remember back in the day, Oscar used to hold his own fight dates as a hostage against HBO and say basically, okay, you want my pay-per-view, You want my pay-per-view date where I'm going to fight on pay-per-view, I'll give it to you, but you got to give me an exchange. You got to treat my company with so many dates, you know? And that Golden Boy's rise to superstardom as a promotional company was kind of tied in with Oscar's fight dates being tied in with HBO. As a matter of fact, if you really go back and look at it, the timeline now with hindsight being 2020, Golden Boy started to decrease once Oscar retired because now he had nothing to hold against them. You know? So in this regard, Jake, as a fighter, you may not be a fan of Jake as a fighter. I'm not the biggest Jake fan as a fighter, you know. But as a person, I respect the guy. He's been aces with me all the time. He's been cool, straight shooter all the time. Cool guy. But as a promotional entity, he helps a lot of fighters. And so if him holding his fight brand again as the weight that pushes the promotional entity, which then helps fighters, I'm okay with that. Because again, that's a lot like Oscar did to grow Golden Boy. And if you're helping fighters on that, you're putting together good shows, which MVP typically puts together pretty good shows. And you know what, bro, I gotta give it respect. But man, this is psychotic. If he fights AJ, he's a psycho, dude. I mean, respect, but he's a psycho.
Psycho in the sense that he's willing to take the beating.
You don't play boxing.
Or is he delusional? Where he thinks he can box with this guy? What kind of psycho?
I don't think Jake is delusional as people think. I think Jake is a salesman. You know,
yes.
I don't. You know, when people talk about it, Jake thinks this. I think Jake says a lot of things to get people talking, to get clicks, because that's what he's a master of. That's how he's buttered his bread his whole life, right? I mean, he's been an influencer. You got to be able to grab that influence and grab that attention. But yeah, he's a psycho. If he does this, he's an insane psycho. I mean, respect because it's ballsy. You know, I expect a fighter to have balls, but a lot of fighters don't have these balls. You know, like I said, Gervonta Davis never take on a 50-50 fight his whole career. You know, this guy who could use his influence to just keep beating NBA players and then former UFC non-strikers, which is what he was fighting when he's fighting UFC guys, were non-strike guys for the most part. He could keep continuing to nourish his brain just beating guys like this, but instead if he does this, again, I don't know if he's gonna do this, but if he does this, respect, but you're a psycho, dude.
Right, that's the line, right? Respect, but you're a psycho. That's the way Paulie calls it. Boxing Scene Today, as this gets signed, as it gets official, it makes news. You can see that news right here on Boxing Scene Today. For the champ, Paulie Malignaggi, Coach Garcia, I'm Jimmy Smith. Tune in next time. Find out why millions are watching.
What else?